Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to True Revelation. I was reading the other day, I was having a discussion with someone on end times, eschatology stuff, and he brought up something that I hadn't, if I'd read it before, I read right over it, which happens a lot when we study scripture. We were talking about the seals, 7 seals, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And he asked me a question on, where did their authority come from? Does it come from God? Does it come from Satan? And I was like, well, regardless of any of that, he had me read Ezekiel 14:21, which says, "For thus saith the Lord, how much more when I send my 4 sore judgments upon Jerusalem, the sword and the famine, and the noisome beast, and the pestilence, to cut off from it man and beast." And he was articulating that he thinks that God may be the one that gives the 4 horsemen the authority to do what they do when the seals are opened, which I don't have a horse in that race, so it doesn't matter to me on if the authority comes from God or comes from Satan. But it forced me to go back and reread the seals. And as I was rereading the seals, something popped up that I hadn't seen. When I study anything, especially eschatology, I don't study King James or NIV or ESV. I throw out a bunch of different translations, throw a Strong's Concordance on the corner of my ottoman, grab a Greek Septuagint, and I see what I can come up with. Also, when studying eschatology, something that I always do when reading Revelation, Thessalonians, Olivet Discourse, Daniel, Ezekiel, Isaiah, I take my belief and I set it off to the side, and I read scripture and I let the Bible interpret itself. Because when I start reading scripture or start reading Revelation and I throw on my glasses that I look through or that I translate scripture from, it's easy for me to make a mistake. So if I can take my belief and set it off to the side, it makes it much easier for me to let scripture interpret scripture. So I want to read something to you real quick, and after I read it, I want to ask a question. Again, I'm using King James in this purpose because King James and Bibles before King James seem to be the only one that have this translation. The translations after King James, NIV, ESV, New Living, they all seem to make a change from what King James says, and they may have changed the meaning of the scripture. So let me read the 4th seal to you. "And when he had opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice come from the 4th beast say, 'Come and see.' And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and Hades followed with him. And power," now listen to this part, "and power was given unto them," death and hell, "over the 4th part of the earth." Notice it didn't say power was given to them over a quarter of the earth or over 1/4 of the earth. It said power was given to them over the 4th part of the earth to kill with sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. My question is, to myself included, what if we are looking at the seals as a global event, and we're looking for all these things to happen globally? And what if the seals are indeed God's judgment, not his wrath, his judgment on a specific area? And I'm not saying that other areas wouldn't feel the effects of the judgment, but what if the judgment of the seals are for a specific area, part of the earth, and we're looking for these things to be global, nationwide, and it causes us to either misinterpret signs, or it causes us to misinterpret where we are. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that my position had been the pale horse is given power over a quarter of the earth to kill a quarter of the earth's population. That's 2 billion people. But it actually doesn't say that. I know what it says in the NIV and the NLT, but it says in the King James, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. I mean, Jesus breaks down the earth into corners when he tells his disciples, I'll send my angels to the four corners of the earth. We see the four winds. I mean, we have north, south, east, and west. What if we are looking for global signs that are taking place in a regional area? We've got Israel at war with Gaza, Iran. We got stuff going on with Syria, Iraq, Ukraine, Russia. Clearly, we have plenty of wars, rumors of wars. We're having earthquakes and volcanoes at a pretty high rate. We've got Christians being murdered. I don't know if you saw, it came up on Fox News this morning. A church in Mozambique. The church members were beheaded and the church was burned by ISIS. Just earlier in the week, I saw where a bunch of Christians were killed at a church in Congo. We are seeing signs of the seals take place in other parts of the world. And I've had to say, just because we're not seeing them in America, we might be being shielded by some of the atrocities that are happening across our globe. And it just made me think, don't be so dogmatic in your perspective that you think the seals have to be a certain way, or that the end times or the timeline has to fit your theology. I need to take my belief, set it to the side, and do the best I can on letting the Bible speak for itself. And like I said, what if the seals are indeed a regional thing that we're looking for on a global scale and we miss it? Like I said, just a thought. Chime in. You feel free to tell me I'm dumb, tell me I'm stupid. It's all right. Just take a look. Unfiltered glasses. Take your denominational perspective off and read it like you're learning for the first time. And maybe you'll get some true revelation. You never know. But like I said, thank you for y'all's time. Doing some studying. Do some studying for yourself, and we'll see you soon.